Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members of the House, it is a privilege to be with you all this evening. The sausage making can look ugly at times and difficult, but there is a method to what we do at times, and I'm encouraged by what I hear in the conversations going on that we may be able to tonight to vote on a clean bill, to vote on the Senate bill and nothing more in that bill, and then also vote on a joint resolution that would achieve what Representative Quinn is attempting to do and some others. And so while that is being put together, and I'm very encouraged by what I hear for us all and for our state most importantly, I want to share with you some things that I think are very important based upon what the debate we heard earlier. And I really have to begin, for me, where it all starts. You know, several of us were meeting and talking about bringing up the Confederate flag. My dear friend Vincent Shaheen and his campaign raised the issue. Couldn't get a lot of folks interested. Myself and a few of my constituents and other colleagues and some business leaders have been meeting on, let's address the Confederate flag next year. I think we can raise it and maybe build some will to make change. Maybe we can accomplish something. And we were talking about all kind of compromises. Maybe we go back to the old healing waters. Maybe some of you don't recall, I was on the conference committee when we dealt with this issue in 2000. So we went back and dusted off the old compromises, and we said, well, let's take a look at these. Maybe one of these will work this time. Maybe we can get this done. And all the reasons that we thought about moving the Confederate flag then are the same reasons we're talking about today. So what's different? We all know what's different. What's different are the hate-filled murders of 9 innocents in Charleston. We want to talk about memorializing, remembering, sacrifice. We ought to be focused on memorializing and remembering the sacrifice, the murders that brought us all here today, and the murders committed by a murderer under a banner that flies on the front lawn of our State House. We couldn't build the political will on our own, ladies and gentlemen, to do what's right. It was not going to happen. We would not be here. We should memorialize those who bring us all together tonight to make change that is far, far, far overdue, too long a time coming, and certainly well and fitting. It was right to remove the Confederate flag from the State House on the grounds before June 17, 2015. And for the same reasons, it's right to do it today. And for the sake of all in our state, let's don't lose this moment. That's what our friend Clem would be telling us. That's what he'd be telling all of us. Do not lose this moment. I remember one thing he said, and he said this before, and it was quoted by our president, and I thought it was a wonderful statement. He said, you know, across the South, we have a deep appreciation of history. We haven't always had a deep appreciation of each other's history. I think that speaks volumes about where we are right now. And sometimes we don't have an appreciation for our own history. And I hear all this talk about we have to honor those that fought and died in the Civil War. And we should, and we do. As a matter of fact, we have a monument on the front lawn of our State House. And I dare say on the front lawn of every courthouse around our state, the most prominent place, the most prominent location for a monument is the Confederate Soldiers Monument, virtually in every county and on our State House grounds. So don't tell me moving the flag fails to honor our soldiers, because we're doing that. And let me tell you what dishonors our soldiers. Let me tell you what is a dishonor to their memory and to their service. It is to fly that flag. I want everybody to remember this. I'm talking to all of my colleagues who think We must keep it up there because of heritage. Oh, how I wish Robert E. Lee, General Lee, his portrait's in the Senate. I so wish he was here tonight, right now, at this podium. He would tell you all, it is an abomination for his flag to fly. As a matter of fact, his very flag was furled. It was furled when they surrendered at Appomattox, and you know what? It has never been unfurled. And to do so dishonors those who fought and died. To unfurl and fly it violates the terms of surrender. General Lee, when it came time and the cause was lost, he called everybody to come back, work, be good citizens, build a country together. Many times he was called to start marauders, start a guerrilla war. The flag is furled. Maintain your soldierly honor. Go back, serve your country. Never, never, never let those flags fly again. And you want to take flags from other units and fly them? That would offend every member of those regiments, particularly those who sacrificed so dearly. To put that flag up there and subject it to political ridicule. And you want to talk about flags being abducted? When we put a flag up on that should have been furled a long time ago in honor of those memories of those soldiers, we're the ones allowing it to be abducted. We're the ones giving legitimacy to those that have taken it and used it for improper purposes. You don't think that those out there who believe as Dylann Roof believed find legitimacy, encouragement, justification that their flag and their symbol flies on the front, most prominent spot at their state house? I'm going to give you the words, not my words, the words of General Wade Hampton, who led valiantly his soldiers in the Civil War. They gathered, came back and gathered after the Civil War was over, and he brought them together to talk about their banner and what is the appropriate thing to do. And he was very, very clear for all the right reasons. In his speech, it was titled, "The Duty of the Present," and that present and that duty is still very much here today. He told the fathers of these sons of Confederate veterans here today very clearly. These are his words. "Though it will never again brave the battle and the breeze, yet as long as one shred of its battle-scarred folds cling to another, it will tell you in language more eloquent than words of the imperishable renown you won for it and for yourselves. It will speak constantly to your hearts of our dead comrades. And it will serve to remind you always that when you furl it forever, you pledge your soldierly honor to observe and violate the terms upon which you surrendered." Sons of Confederate veterans, when you fly the flags, you violate the terms of surrender of your fathers. You offend those that fought and died under that banner. It is undeniable. We have forgotten. You know, we did fine in South Carolina for over 100 years without a Confederate flag flying here. We didn't need a Confederate flag. For years, we got along just fine without a Confederate flag flying in these chambers, on that dome, or out in the front lawn. It wasn't until the Civil Rights Movement and the federal government said, you know what? We're not treating people right. We're discriminating on people because of their race and not allowing them to access the ballot, and that's not right. So our response in South Carolina was just kind of a little symbolic middle finger to the federal government by throwing a flag on the dome and in these chambers. That's all it was, nothing more. And to continue that in any manner, whether it's another flag on that pole or something else, all you are doing is continuing a legacy based upon hate. if it meant heritage for people someday at some time in the past, it sure as heck doesn't reflect that these days. And I have to say, those that put it on the dome and put it in these chambers at that time, they bear full responsibility for that. You want to make sure we get back to heritage for those flags? You do what General Lee said. You do what Wade Hampton said. Listen to them. Furl it forever. Then you protect it from ridicule and abuse. And only then does it really mean heritage. This is a time like very few times that we have in this body. And you know, while it's important, and it is important, which is why we are all here, it ought not to be this hard. We should come together, and I am encouraged by what I see, my friends in this chamber, that we will, by the end of tonight, vote on a clean bill that's not going to delay this process. It's not going to give comfort to anybody who would see delay in our actions. They would find comfort in that. And somehow there's somebody out there fighting for their racist beliefs. They'll twist that in ways that are never intended. It's not who we are. It's not what we're about. So we have a monument, and we should have a monument. And it's in a most prominent place on these grounds, and that is there to be the remembrance for those who died in the war. But I hope before we're done with this process, and when we come back in January, which we will, and I'm sure we'll build a fine and appropriate designation, location for this banner in the Confederate Relic Room. I'm sure we will do that.
Ms. Smith, that's your first 10 minutes.
I'd like to be recognized for a few more, please,
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Speaker. I hope that after we do that, we also find a way to memorialize, to remember what brought us all here tonight. And let there be no mistake about that fact. This event in history would not be occurring but for 9 murders of innocents in Charleston. And we talk about wanting the future generations to understand what it took to bring about change and bring about a positive movement in our history. Let us never forget that. And lastly, I have to say, in working with my leader on the Democratic side, Representative Rutherford, and with the majority leader, Representative Bannister, who I've privileged to work very closely with as we have tried to make our way through this, and the governor downstairs, who, by the way, has made it very clear. You know what? She has every right and ability, and she will ensure that that flag is going to come down in a respectful manner. I'm sure there'll be all kind of appropriate circumstance. She's not going to do that, send somebody out there with a hacksaw and cut that pole down. That is not going to happen. And nobody should think that would ever happen. But the time has come, and dare say I hate what it took to bring us all here, but the time has come to do the right thing finally, make history, remember what got us all here together, and let's move this state from changing monuments on our front lawn to monumental change in areas that we know that will make our citizens' lives better. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.